had to bring in meteorologist Craig Moeller right away to kick things off. Hi, Craig.
You have to, or you get to bring in meteorologists?
I have to, I get to. It's all the same.
Anyway, great to see you here, Marta. And again, excited to be a part of your first time hosting Live Impact News. Marta is a phenomenal journalist, and excited to see what she does here as well. What we're going to talk about right out of the gates, 1,800 miles. That is the span of the areas under winter storm watch as we head to the weekend. This is not a small area or an isolated region that's going to get hit. Everybody else is fine. This is a large part of the country that will be hit with wintry weather, and we do have those winter storm watches out. Let's go ahead and talk about this. First of all, I just want to mention very quickly these areas shaded in pink back across Oklahoma, North Texas, Northwest Arkansas, and even parts of New York State there around Rochester, those areas under winter storm warnings. We have these areas shaded in purple back in western parts of Colorado, southern Montana, a little bit around the Great Lakes there, winter weather advisories. That's some lake effect snow up there coming off Superior and off of Lake Michigan. And it looks like maybe a little bit up around Ontario as well, impacting portions of New York State. But this big area shaded in blue, that is the area that is under winter storm watch for this larger system that is going to produce snow. It's going to produce mixed precipitation in terms of sleet, maybe some freezing rain, and eventually rain for parts of the area as well. Now, as you look at the state of Virginia, the entire Commonwealth under this winter storm watch for North Carolina. It's the central and western parts of North Carolina, right along the coast and the Outer Banks. You are not under the winter watch at this point. And the thinking is that it's going to be warm enough where it's going to be mainly rain. You'll probably see a little bit of mix or some snow showers at the beginning, but as warmer air comes into the system, should transition more to rain there. Had a few sprinkles down to the south early this morning. And Marta, I will invite you to jump in at any point if you have questions about any of this. Feel free to interrupt.
Thank you.
Because as Sarah will tell you, I get on a roll sometimes talking.
For now, we're good, but I will have questions.
All right. So just jump in. Don't hesitate to interrupt. Down across the southeast, we're looking at rain this morning. Georgia into Alabama and down around Mississippi. That stuff is working east. Here's the outlook. So this is 2 days from now. Okay, we're looking ahead to Saturday morning. Snow across the central U.S., Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas. They're all going to be dealing with snow as this system moves along. South of that area I just identified, you get down to southern Oklahoma, Arkansas, North Texas, northern Louisiana, northern sections of Mississippi, some freezing rain and mixed precipitation there. As this moisture works eastward and encounters cold air that will be in place from this Arctic air mass that settles in over the eastern U.S., that sets the stage for snow. Initially for Hampton Roads, heavier snow, and then that snow will transition to mix and freezing rain and eventually rain there along the coast. This is the GFS model that is projecting that. That's into Sunday, and look at that area of pink, a prolonged, kind of drawn out time period with that freezing rain and mixed precipitation. That's why there could be some significant icing out in that part of the Commonwealth and into North Carolina. Looking at the Euro, similar snow comes in late Saturday, and then overnight it transitions to mix and eventually rain near the coast. That wedge of cold air, what we call cold air damming, kind of pinned between the Appalachians and the coast. We're going to see that cold air in place, prolonging the freezing rain potential into Sunday night and even early Monday before it moves out. And we'll see improvements after that. It's going to stay cold. Here's a look at how the models have been trending, okay? Monday when I came in, you remember that talk, right, Marta?
Yeah. It was literally, like 20 inches.
I was like, Marta, oh my gosh. All of these models are pointing to heavy snow. Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that I can only do with Marta here because she and one other person were the only people that we had this conversation. You asked me for fun Monday. Yes. She goes, what's your gut tell you? What do you think is going to happen? This is when the models were saying like 12 to 24 inches. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what my answer was?
I think you said 3.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed. But yeah, 3. And I think Taylor Stephenson,
we're going to leave her off the record. No.
Didn't say 3.
Taylor was more bullish. That's all I'll
Yes,
say.
yes.
No, we were having fun. Taylor said, I don't know, 13 inches. I mean, that's what she said. But she kind of, I said, the reason I said 3 was not to throw a wet blanket on this. But the reality is, even though the models project crazy amounts of snow that far in advance, knowing that just a little subtle track shift would knock down the totals, that is exactly what we have seen happen. So again, this is having been here since 1997. I've seen a few of these things kind of go this way. That all being said, there's still time. I mean, the models could come back the other way a little bit. So we're not being dismissive about the heavier stuff, but the models have been trending from tons of snow Monday down to less snow yesterday or Tuesday. We saw rain at the coast, mix inland, and then yesterday, all of a sudden the ice threat started to really ramp up and the snow threat really came down. So that's been the model trend over the past few days. Here are the impacts. Again, as it sits right now, and things could change, but as it sits right now, we're going to see rain at the coast, but it's not going to be anything catastrophic in terms of rainfall. Snow, those weather impacts are going to be moderate, we'll say, because I think still some heavier snow. The northern parts of the area still potentially will see that. Ice is going to be the biggest concern for me for inland areas, and then wind and cold, not too bad, although it will be breezy. And when you have breezy conditions, like I expect Sunday night into Monday, and you've got ice on power lines, it can create what we call galloping lines, where the lines start to fluctuate a little bit. They can bend around, sometimes break or touch into each other, short out. Power outage threat is increasing. All right, so how about our forecast confidence? Marta, I know you like to discuss this, right? Precip type, very confident that we're going to see the full array, everything in play from snow in the morning. So I think Saturday night starts off as snow. Got a text from a buddy of mine, Rick Rumble, who hosts Rumble in the Mornings on FM 99. He said, what do I need, a shovel or an umbrella? I said, both. All right. Shovel for Saturday night into early Sunday, but then an umbrella for most of the day Sunday as that snow transitions to mix and eventually rain for much of Hampton Roads. There's going to be sleet, there's going to be mix, and there's going to be freezing rain potentially, especially the western part of the metro area on through the Piedmont of Virginia and North Carolina. That freezing rain really could be problematic. Snow totals, this is the one area that we're not very confident in because in general, yeah, the picture's becoming clearer. More snow to the north, less to the south and near the coast. But the models are still highly variable in what they are producing. The Euro's saying very little, like maybe an inch. The GFS model is saying, well, maybe 5, 5.5, something like that in Norfolk before the transition. Doesn't really matter that much for much of the metro because whatever we get, as we get rain on top of it, it's either going to pack it down and, make it look a lot less pretty or, it'll wash a lot of it away. So that's what's going on. Storm timing, we have high confidence on as this has consistently been looking at a Saturday afternoon into Saturday night, Sunday, and early Monday situation. Snow odds from the models. Euro is backing off a little bit. Only a 60% chance we see an inch or more if the Euro is correct. These are the ensembles, by the way, where they take a whole bunch of different, little subtle variations and keep running the model over and over and over. So the Euro is saying, there's a 60% chance, or in 60% of the runs, we get an inch or more. 20% of the time, the Euro produces a 3-inch, total or more. There's virtually none of them are saying 6 to 12. So that's been taken out with the Euro. GFS says, hey, there's a 90% chance that we'll see at least an inch. So as it starts, we get that snow. And there's a 50% chance we have more than 3 inches. I mean, that's a mantle of white. When you wake up, you see that pretty snow on the ground. That's kind of cool. Take a few pictures. Take the dog out for a walk early in the morning. Maybe a little bit of snow out there. Only a 10% chance that we see 6 inches or more. And then the Euro AI is at 70% for 1 inch, 30% for 3, and 10% for 6. You see all those red arrows, that means the models are backing off on the snow totals or chances for it. The GFS, though, for 1 inch is saying, no, we're pretty confident that it's going to go up. Snow potentials, I mentioned the Euro, an inch or less. In Virginia Beach, for instance, a dusting, maybe a heavy dusting to a half inch in Chesapeake. You get up in the peninsula, Euro's still saying, okay, 1 to 2 inches possible. Up around West Point, 3 inches. Heavier amounts up towards Tappahannock and Richmond. The GFS, though, that one is saying 5.2 inches for Norfolk right now. And yesterday it was down at 4.7, so it's actually added a little more snow to its output. Again, I'm not too hung up on that because I still think we're going to see that transition to mix and rain later, which will knock down whatever we see anyway. All right. Now, the ice potential, this is what really has got my attention. Potential for significant ice, especially inland. This, just like the snow models earlier were calling for tremendous amounts, this can change significantly.
Is that inches of ice?
Yeah, that right now is what the Euro is projecting in inches of ice. I mean, 2.25 inches. Think about how much ice that is.
Like
that,
on the roads or just on the trees?
On
or anything?
just falling. That's what this
yeah.
is saying could fall and collect. Again, those most likely overdone. To have that much ice on everything would be tremendous, okay? But the bottom line is you don't need that much to have major issues. If you have just 1/4 inch or less, avoid unnecessary travel. Light ice on trees, maybe some scattered power outages. You get 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, now you've got icy roads, which you do not want to travel on at all, broken tree limbs, and numerous power outages. Once you get over 1/2 inch, and those areas that look pretty crazy with the projections right now, which will likely back off as we go, still you could have over 1/2 inch, and where you have that 1/2 inch or more, roads become dangerous, if not impassable in some places. Widespread tree damage and longer-term outages are possible. So this is something that we will need to watch very, very carefully. And again, the model's showing the onset with snow, then that transition. That's the GFS. You see the snow there through Sunday morning, changing over to mix and freezing rain, and then eventually rain later on Sunday. That's the GFS. Here's a look at the Euro. Again, snow developing a little bit later, Saturday evening, not as long a duration. That's why the Euro doesn't have as much snow. But then look at that pink area out to the west, pretty much just camped out there with prolonged period of freezing rain, while we see mostly rain here in Hampton Roads and along the coast. So that's how the models are handling it, guys. We've got a lot to watch. Marta, do you guys have questions, or Sarah? Feel free to ask away. I mean, that's really what I wanted to get to off the top.
I've noticed the 13 News Now weather team has not said how much snow you officially are predicting at this point. Is that normal to be, 48 hours out and still not safe?
We could throw out numbers, but let's talk about that. I mean, okay, so let's say we get a 1 to 2 inches. It's going to rain on top of it and largely wash away. So you wake up the next morning, it's going to be slushy. Doesn't really matter. Oh, by the way, this model says 4 inches, 5 inches. This model says 1/4 inch or less. I mean, there's so much variability, and the ultimate impacts, are going to be largely kind of diminished because of the mix that's coming in quickly on top of it. So we haven't worried as much about it forecasting out. If this looked like it was going to be a crippling snow, that's where we would put our focus on trying to pin that down. I think that the truth in the total amount of snow lies somewhere in between the Euro and the GFS. I think the GFS will probably, those numbers be knocked down a little bit. And I think the Euro may not be accounting for some of the snow at the onset that the GFS is picking up on. So I'm not saying that to be snarky. What I'm saying is we're looking at high variability with the models, and the ultimate impacts, are going to be largely kind of reduced because we're getting the mix in right on top of it. And that's why we were starting to put together some of the projections, and our chief meteorologist, Tim Pandage, said, hey, let's hold off till sometime today and staking out, this is our official snow forecast. We want to get a look at some more models and see if they start to come into line. One more time, you can see again that high variability. Euro, less than an inch. GFS, 5 inches or more. Again,
those would be two very different situations.
It's interesting, but that little thing that I threw out Monday, around 3 inches, maybe 3.5, may come in pretty good. Yeah. 5 days, six days early. So we'll see. Again, we will be working to pin down those numbers, and a lot of times we can do it a little bit earlier, but this has been changing so much. And the exact track of the low will also have some implications. So what I want our viewers and listeners to take away more than anything else, we see snow Saturday night into early Sunday. Then we start to see mix. We could see some freezing rain, but likely sleet mixing with rain at the coast, changing to rain, and then sleet and freezing rain potentially inland. Significant icing potentially away from the coast, and we're going to see more wet weather, then turning cold. Monday morning, it could end as another mix. It may transition back to mix. So we'll be working to get that. Tomorrow on Daybreak, we should have some snow totals maps for you.
But we're currently under a winter storm watch.
A watch, which as we get closer to it, within 24 to 36 hours, they'll flip it to a warning.
Okay.
So
because
it's
some
still
areas are already under a warning, right?
correct. And those areas out to the west, like Oklahoma was one of the areas under a winter storm warning, they're expecting it to begin sooner. It'll start late tomorrow. So they're kind of getting to that window. For us, because it's not really coming in until late Saturday, we just under watch to make sure everybody's thinking about it. Emergency managers are coordinating. City managers are all, getting their preps done. We've heard from Newport News and Richmond. All around the region, folks are getting ready for it. But once we're within that time period closer to the event, it'll flip to a warning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Craig.
You got it.